we have our floor plan together, and let's take a look together at our PDF, our make-believe architecturals. We are done with the floor plans. We want to go to page 2, and now we want to insert ceiling heights, and the light fixtures and duct location. So we'll move this out of the way. Keep this maybe for a helpful reference in the corner. Not sure how helpful that will be. This time I'm only going to show you a small portion of this, the different ways you can do it, and I'm not going to walk through the whole building. That being said, I am missing a toolbar. Yep, there it is. Okay, you can see that too. I'm stretched for resources here. Screen recording while I'm doing this is taking a lot out of the machine. All right, Office 01. We want to focus on Office 01. And let me just get rid of the overlay then and pull the PDF over so I know that we're seeing this in the same quality. 2 foot by 4 foot light fixtures, ceiling layout, my bad. 2 by 4 ceiling tiles. They're going left to right, not top to bottom. You've got 2 by 4 lights in 2 spots, and the diffuser for the ductwork. This is not a super accurate reflection of what you would see in a room like this. Just so you know. When they put a ceiling in a room, this is probably the last way they'll do it, because you have partial tiles on all 4 sides. And this was really just for me to make you use the tools more. That being said, notice this T-bar, the grid, is 1 foot from the north wall and 2 foot from the west wall. So that's how we want to lay this out. And we can do this really one of 2 ways. I need that to come back. Let's drag it here. First, let's go to our layer pull down. If you remember, we chose the wall when we were drawing walls. If you look here, those room labels have their own layer, wall 3. We didn't choose that, but this block, when you insert it using this tool, like some other tools, they have their own dedicated layer. They don't always take over, but they should. So let's get ourselves in the right layer, which, if you could imagine, what layer would the ceiling layer be called? Well, how about ceiling, huh? All right, ceiling, it is color 8. That is this gray color. Should you want to change the color of something? Don't. But if you want to change the color of something, use that caret, go down to select color, and you have greater options. Color 8 is the gray that we use for ceilings, lights, existing sprinkler pipe. Our colors do not vary a whole lot, but you can even go in a little further and fine-tune things. Not what we need to do. So color 8, it's the bilayer for the ceiling. We're good leaving it just like that. Solid line type, no dashes or anything like that. And your bilayer setup for how dark it will print, leave it alone. All right, ceiling layer is current. And if you come down here, we actually have a button that says Set Up Ceiling. And you'll notice it's right below the Insert Room tags. So for me, the way I've organized a lot of this stuff is because these toolbars, to me, were related. Insert room labels, set up the ceilings. This button over here is how you insert the ceiling heights. And this button right here is how you insert lights and diffusers. They're all together. Just keep that in mind. So let's set up our ceiling. And we might actually have to move that block out of the way, but we'll feel this out. Ceiling type 4x2, 2x4, sheetrock. You have options. Half a tile or greater or less than half a tile. I've had mixed luck using that tool, but let's just start with the default. We opened this up and it was 4x2, less than half, proportional, add a point, angled, not angled, turn off steel layers. Let's leave it like it is. You're going to press this button and it should say everything mine says right here. Let's say OK, and we're going to click inside the room where we want to insert the ceiling. Left click, boom, just dropped it. Now, did that do exactly what we wanted? It's quite possible because I might have inserted this generically previously. Muted the microphone again, but I caught it. 1 foot. And if we check the other way, what I hate is you see that it's not picking up, but it's picking up right here. The ceiling grid acts like a block. It's a type of hatch pattern, and to pick one thing is to pick all of it. If you need, which really you end up needing, typically we have to explode this so that we can insert the lights and the diffusers. So let's just do this all at once. I'm going to delete that. Remember, we come up here to layers, select ceiling. We come down to your left and you should see the S and the ceiling grid hatch. So we're going to set up the ceiling 4x2. These could be anything depending on the project, but in this case, let's hit OK, insert. All right, the ceiling grid is in, and it matches this 1 foot down, 2 foot to the right. We don't have to move anything. Now we want to insert lights and the diffuser. So if we come back over to the toolbar on the left, select lights, and we use the outline in the middle. So left click, and you have a variety of things to choose from: can lights, smoke detector, speakers. We don't use that much. What you're worried about will be these first two, a typical 2x4, 4x2 layout. And then when we get beyond that, right here, you'll notice that also jumps. You've got the diffusers for your ceiling. There's your 2x2 diffuser. That's what we want for the HVAC. Up here, these are our 2x4 lights that we're worried about. In this case, let's go ahead and drop the light in first. And it says pick insertion point. So if I click somewhere, I mean, let's be honest, I want to put it in this room, don't I? So let's insert it in this room. Okay, well that doesn't exactly work, but now I know it goes right here. So let's see if I can center it up. No, that was close. No cigar. And there. All right. Those lights are supposed to fall out in the ceiling grid edge to edge. This is not acceptable. It just is not going to work for us. So there are a couple of ways to go about dropping these in the right way. And ultimately, we're going to end up exploding this because I've never been able to get it to work otherwise. If we take this and we try to move it from an endpoint, let's grab the endpoint of a light. Really what we're looking to happen is for it to snap to this intersection. Then we know the 2x4 grid and the 2x4 light are all together. But no matter how many times I ask it, it refuses to recognize these as two separate lines. So the solution, left click, come right up here, and this is the explode command. You can also type it. Hit explode, and now it has taken that ceiling hatch and turned it into individual lines. Now I can grab the light I already put in wrong, left click, and then click on move, click endpoint, select the endpoint, and then I want to select intersection and put it right there. Same thing happens with this, except this time, how about I do it like this? I'm going to use the middle instead of clicking over and over again, and then I'm just going to muted it again, but I caught it. I'm going to tell it 24 inches this way, and let's go 12 inches that way. And now we are perfectly centered, lined up, corner to corner with our light fixtures. There is one more command that I know of. We can use it for the lights, a little harder to use for diffusers. But let's come over here to our light selector again. which also includes diffusers, outline, and we're going to pick on this 2x2 diffuser. All right, pick insertion point. We know that if we pick the insertion point, it's not going to snap where we want it. It has to hit the edges of the ceiling grid, or it's going to make everyone's life so much harder. All right, so do this. Hold down the Shift button on your keyboard, and then hit the right-click button on your mouse. And it pulls up this shortcut menu. And what we want is mid between 2 points. It's not going to work for our diffuser because it's not that kind of fixture. If we were in a 2x2 grid, it would be perfect, but we're in a 2x4 grid. So mid 2 points works for our lights in this case, but not so much our diffuser. We're going to use it anyway just to show you what it does. So left click on mid 2 points, and then we're going to pick the intersection or the endpoint of the lights, and it's going to drop the diffuser centered between those 2 points. Hit enter. We're out of that command. Now let's just grab this, and we're going to move it 12 inches, and now everything lines up just the way it's meant to from our PDF. I can't stress enough how important it is that these light fixtures do not end up off. It will make your job as a designer so much harder if things are not lining up, especially when you're using your O-snaps. You think you're snapping to something and you're not, because now you've created more than one point to grab when you're in the middle of a command. Okay, so instead of dragging this back where it's supposed to be, if I hit Control Z, that's undo, and it moves that back for me. Something we haven't been in the habit of doing the last 20 minutes is saving. So let's hit Control S. Make sure you're always saving, especially when you first started drawing. If you don't hit save, the program will not auto-save. It will not override your current backup file if you don't hit save first, because it doesn't know that you want to, if that makes sense. Save, save, save. All right, that's in there. Our next room has a different looking ceiling to it, and this will be where I leave you to figure out the rest. Where we went less than half a tile here, we went maybe greater than half a tile on this one. We'll see how this works out. I don't want it to do what it's doing. Get out the way. Okay, ceiling setup. Let's go greater. Or it could be less. I don't know what I'm telling you. Let's click the opposite. And in that room, all right, this is where you have to work for it. If I could keep these side by side large enough. Oh my. Your T-bars going left and right line up. Your T-bars going north and south do not. You have 3 whole ceiling tiles in here. You do not have 3 whole tiles in this drawing. It's got to look like this, obviously. So we know that we're 2 foot by 2 foot in this version. This one, we should be able to count on this being a full 4 feet. And because we can do simple math, we do. This room is how wide? Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. These rooms are 12 foot long and 10 foot wide. So we have to be 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot. But we know from our PDF that this project is supposed to be, the T-bar should start at 2 foot this way and 2 foot that way. So to make that happen, we're going to try a couple of things. First one being the tool they want you to use, and it is right here, Move Ceiling. Go figure. Select the ceiling to move. Come on. Enter. You know what? The command's gotten even worse from the last time I used it. How terrible is that? That would be why I don't use it. Intersection of grid lines. I've already picked the intersection of the grid lines. And I am stuck. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this the way I do ceilings when we get to this point, because it usually behaves better than that. We're going to select it like we did before, hit explode, and we're going to say move 24 inches. And we're going to tell that one to do the same thing. We could have picked them at the same time. And then we're simply going to copy that one over 4 feet, 48 inches. And now the ceiling grid looks like it's meant to from the architectural set. And just to verify, we are 2 foot and we are 2 foot. I know I haven't really shown you that yet. Quick dimension is this button right here. If you left click and then you pick any 2 points, it's going to give you that dimension. I'm seeing something right there. I guess not. Okay. Let's use that insert snap for these light fixtures. And if we come down here, insert light, pick insertion point. What it should do is remember the last thing we put in. So we're going to test this. This is how we pick the light from the start. This one says insert, and it can only insert what it's been told. So insert, left click, and it remembered the last thing you used. So keep that in mind. That's how many tools work. We're going to insert the diffuser first, I suppose. Doesn't hurt. I'm going to pick the intersection. Let's just say this point, and then escape. Left click and grab that snap point. Take it 12 inches north, take it 12 inches to the west, and now we have that in the right spot according to our PDF. The next thing we want to do is insert the lights in this tile and in this tile. So let's go back and select the light, outline 2x4, turn sideways, hit OK, and that quick the shortcut to your endpoints, snap points, good Lord. Hold down shift and right click. We're going to hit mid 2 points, and then it's going to ask you to pick those 2 points. So let's do shift and right click again, and we're going to say intersection, and then we're going to shift and right click again, say intersection, and we're done. Now we can do the same thing again, or in my opinion it would be faster to just copy this light over 48 inches and then drag it down 48 inches. And the room is finished. That process, very repetitive. It needs to happen in all of these spaces. I'm not telling you you have to insert it the exact same way we did every time, but it would be preferred that you do so that you develop the muscle memory, because I can insert and copy and paste and drag faster than you can follow my hands. But if a room up here is identical to a room down here, well then by all means you would, if you were doing this on a real contract, we're trying to save money, get it done quick, you want to copy this whole room and paste it down in here. But use the base point so that they are exactly where they're meant to be. So if this is what we're going to do down here in Office 9, which it looks like it's not quite the same. Office 9 looks a little bit more like this room. I'm going to use the copy command. I'm going to draw a window to select this. I do not want office number 1. So here's what you do. Don't hit escape. Hold down shift and left click, and it will deselect anything you don't want. All right, so now we're still in the copy command. You're going to hit enter or right click on your mouse, and it's going to ask you to specify that base point, where you're copying it from. We're going to pick the endpoint, so shift and right click, or you can come up here and left click on that one. We're going to snap on that endpoint, and we're going to bring it straight down to this endpoint. So endpoint and there. Now the difference is on this drawing, we did not do the ceiling exactly the same. When I dropped in the light fixtures, because there was no real method to it, the lights in the diffuser are up another tile north. So in this, make sure, move it up 24 inches, left click, grab it, move it up 24 inches, and now that room is done. If you wanted to go through this, maybe the longer way, not always longer when the tool doesn't work. If I wanted to draw the ceiling in this room myself, and then this is where I'm going to leave you. If I wanted to draw the next room in, which just happens to look identical to this one, so of course we would want to copy it. If I want to draw that, I know that I have 1 foot this way and 2 foot that way. I'm going to use my offset, use my copy, doesn't really matter. We're going to copy this bottom one up 12 inches. Right click to enter to end the command. Let's enter to repeat copy. Left click to select. Enter to go into the command. Then left click for a base point. Sounds like a lot when you have to say it all. And then move it 24 inches to the right. And now we have the exact intersection point that T-bar should be if we inserted the ceiling grid with the tool. Only now we're using walls instead of ceiling layers. So here's what you do. Pick both of those lines because we don't want them to be green. We don't want them to be walls. Use your caret and you're going to scroll up with your mouse wheel and select the ceiling. And now both of those lines have changed layers. Something to note is just because you change layers here doesn't always mean that the layer here is now the right one. So let's just say I've been working in the wall layer and now I want to start drawing ceiling lines. I have to make sure that I'm in the ceiling layer. And if you notice, if I had started drawing this and I was in a different line type than I meant, well, first you might notice. But if I want to fix this quickly, I pick that, I use the pull down, I can hit the letter C and it'll jump for me. And then now that is a ceiling layer line. It fixes the weird dash dot, it changes the line thickness when it prints, all that good stuff. Alright, but notice again, I changed this to the ceiling layer, but if I deselect that, it shows me my current layer is still wall number 3. Let's delete this, and we want to be on ceiling layer. So the quick way to do that is to left click on something that's already the layer you want, and then this button right here next to your pull down says make objects layer current. Left click, and now we're not in a command, but you can see it has matched the layer I was on. If I click a wall and I say make current, now it's the wall. Same deal with the room label. If I want to use that layer, now that's current. But I want to make sure I'm on ceilings. I'm on ceilings. We've started putting this grid in. We know it's 2 foot by 4 foot. So I'm simply going to copy those lines that are the length and the width of the room. It's 2 foot, 4 foot. How about yeah, there we go. Couldn't see it. 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, and 8 foot. So we've got the start of the tile that direction. We're simply going to copy and take the tile 4 foot and 8 foot, and now that room has its ceiling grid. Drop in lights, drop in diffuser, and you're good. The room out here, I want you to just explore. That insert tool does behave differently when there are other things creating boundaries. It'll probably insert and look exactly like my ceiling because I know I didn't spend all that time screwing it up for you. But this is the layout we're looking for. I do not want to see this. I almost forgot that. Glad I didn't finish. We need to insert the ceiling elevations. But I do not want them to look like this. That is how it looks when we get drawings from the architect. They just throw it everywhere and it's a terrible mess. So we talked about how your room labels, your ceiling setup, your light insert are all together, and your ceiling elevation is also right there in the same place. So setup ceiling, right here ceiling height. So we're going to click this, and it is as simple as typing it in or pulling it, choosing it from the pull down. All of these rooms I have labeled as 8 foot. So I could type it or I'll just go with it. You hit OK. And then again, we want to try and insert these where they're going to be out of the way of everything else. O-snaps are off. Let's just see. If my O-snaps were on, do you see what a pain in the butt that would be? It will snap to whatever end of the line you're closest to. And we don't want that to happen because then we have no control. So make sure your snaps are off. And then you can put that anywhere you want. Right there would be a much better place. So let's insert again. And maybe because the light fixture is here, I choose to put this one more over here. You know, clean it up a little bit. Not going to worry about that right now. This room, because of where the light is, I think we want to put that stuff down here. I would go ahead, move these down, keep them together. Don't make it harder for the people in the field than it needs to be. Make the information easy to find. All right. You have been shown. That's pretty much every way that I can think of at the moment to do this. But you are free to continue dressing up the ceiling plan. And when that is done, we will move on to the next bit, which you will be more than capable of doing, and that is inserting the steel. Then we'll get to the fun part that you may not be ready to do, but it won't be. It will not be difficult at all. I promise. We'll start spacing sprinkler heads, and we will show how we put together a basic sprinkler system.